It is. Hey, welcome
Friday.
to it is Friday. That's exactly right. Fabulous Friday, don't you know, David?
Friday in America.
Yes.
Friday in
Yeah.
America, and you can go to jail for saying the wrong thing about a political person, candidate. What was it? I didn't really, I didn't, I just caught headlines on that story. What is the deal there? What?
So the deal is Douglas Mackey had done a meme on Hillary disparaging Hillary Clinton. And that was in 2016. And so he has now been sentenced to 7 months in prison for a meme. And so there was I will post this article into the comments here, but he was just interviewed. And I have not watched the interview, but I've known about it. I knew about it. I've, read some little tidbits on it with Tucker Carlson.
Oh,
And so I
oh,
do
yeah, that's
recommend
right.
everybody.
I
Yeah.
should have watched that, and I would have been all the way up to speed.
Yeah, so I haven't watched it, and but this is a damn big deal because we're seeing all the lawfare that is happening against Trump, against any lawyer that has ever um, represented Trump or a conservative person, or the Republicans are getting sued and their law licenses are being challenged, and they're having just so much lawfare happening. And now you have this, that Douglas Mackey was arrested, tried, and convicted for a meme. We have this is just unheard of. And so if people don't think that this can happen to you, it can. This So he's been sentenced to 7 months in prison for sharing a joke on Twitter about Hillary Clinton and her voters leading up to the 2016 election. And he wasn't, while his alleged crime was in 2016, he wasn't arrested until 7 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated in 2021, 5 years later. And the FBI came to his house 7:30 in the morning, dragged him out of his home in handcuffs, wouldn't tell him what he's been arrested for until he was arraigned at the courthouse.
Wow.
Yeah.
Paid
Yeah.
for
And
by
so
your
he's
tax
getting,
dollars.
yeah. And of course, Hillary Clinton is celebrated his arrest. And, but this is free speech. We have satire in our country. Of course, with the council culture, there's been so many comedians that have been afraid to have comedy, right?
Oh
For
yeah,
the
yeah.
sake of,
Cancel culture has
yeah,
absolutely destroyed
right?
the comedic profession.
Yes, it has. And that is another form of free speech. And this is just criminal, in my
It is
opinion,
criminal.
that he has been sentenced to 7 months in prison, let alone arrested. That never should have happened, I don't think, at all.
No, it reminds me of a meme that a prominent local lawyer that we know shared not too long ago. It had the who's that Outer Limits guy? I forget his name, and
I don't
I've
know.
been watching Outer Limits. Uh, no, I can't remember his name. Anyways, it was a meme with him.
Well, I don't watch it, so I don't
You
know.
don't remember Outer Limits? The guy, he'd come on
Mm-mm.
at the beginning and imagine a world where blah 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 and blah blah blah. Well, you have just entered the. It's Twilight Zone, not Outer Limits. Twilight Zone.
Twilight
Yeah,
Zone.
Twilight Zone. And
Yes.
anyways, the meme
Okay.
says, imagine you're part of a population that is the most heavily armed population in the world, and your government, your country is being destroyed by a government of criminals, and you do nothing. I saw that. Well, that's something to think about. thank,
Yes.
thank
Yes,
you,
it is.
James.
Yes. Yes, it is. And it is
You know what that got
this
me thinking of or thinking about? It's like uh, Is the Second Amendment of any value if you don't exercise it?
No, much like the First Amendment, and so actually he ends up saying at the end of this is he let me find it really quick. He says he hopes the sentence will be an opportunity because there's something redemptive about suffering, and
Wow.
all of this type of lawfare or him being arrested and convicted, tried and convicted for a meme, truly, and I believe is designed to frighten all of us into
Oh,
silence.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it works, doesn't
You
it?
know, well, I'm sure it does to a lot of people.
I mean,
I'm sure it does.
if you have reason to believe that you'd be dragged out of your house by the FBI in the early morning hours for posting a meme, and you thought about that before posting a meme, would you post the meme?
Right. I think there's people that would definitely post the meme. But this was
I think
when
about it.
you have, you recall this was also at the height of maybe not the height, because this was in 2016. So it wasn't, I was going to say the height of censorship. And so it wasn't. That's wrong. So, he says, yes, he was charged with conspiracy against rights, election interference, and these allegations were bolstered and cheered by the leftist media intent on punishing a Trump supporter.
Wow.
And it was Huffington Post reporter Luke O'Brien doxing of Mackey that led to his arrest and conviction.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've posted it now in our comments and to our audience here. I say, go watch the interview with Tucker and on X, and just hear it for yourself.
Yeah.
And I do believe it's like an hour interview. So I have not watched it yet,
Yeah. I
and
got the notification for
I
that.
haven't had a spare hour recently.
I haven't either. Yeah, I got the notification on that. I get notifications whenever Tucker posts, but I haven't watched it. And it sounds like I really
Yeah.
need to. I really need to understand that. I mean, it on its face, what you have read. I mean, it just sounds inconceivable that could happen in America, doesn't it?
Well, it does. It does seem inconceivable, but when you look at all of the things that are going on, it just fits with the rest. And I say all the things going on is all of the lawfare that is happening all over. And in fact, I have another case. So let me see. There's just so many things that we're being attacked in so many ways, be it free speech, the lawfare, things just don't seem honest. Look at our elections, what's going on. And that'll be a good segue into our elections is election problems are still persist right now in Kentucky, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and Texas. And this is an off year. Maybe you heard that there was a gas pipeline had an issue. In fact, there was one recently blew up over here in Idaho that they're still trying to work on getting it repaired.
Was it next to an election
But
office?
no, it wasn't next to well, I don't know that. I don't know if it was next to an election office. It could have been, but it is affecting the people in Lewiston, Idaho.
Wow.
Actually, yeah, just over the border and other areas. But this morning I heard them talking about it in Lewiston on the news. So, this isn't what they call an off-year election, and yet you still had voting machines flipping votes in Pennsylvania County, to electronic poll books malfunctioning in Louisville, Kentucky,
Hmm.
And you had other issues, in two other states. And so two states had gubernatorial elections, and the other two had local and statewide ballot issues.
Mhm.
So the turnout was lower. So here you have Kentucky. 17 polling districts experienced issues with their electronic poll books. So, of course, they ended up going to paper. You can't beat paper for ballots or signing polling books. Um, Several precincts in Jefferson County were ordered by the local circuit court to extend their voting hours because of the polls were closed for half an hour for a potential gas leak. Mississippi, there was a ballot shortage. Now, you know how many registered voters you're sending out ballots, right? How can there be a ballot shortage?
Right.
And so there was a ballot shortage. And so a judge had extended voting time by an
But it
hour.
can't count in Mississippi. And
Mississippi's
there,
having
and,
problems.
and then you just now stated the problem. A judge ordered that. Judges are not supposed to make any kind of election policy.
Right. And so that was done in both, also in Kentucky. So the first one, let me see. No, the judge didn't do it in Kentucky, but in Mississippi, you're right, a judge did. And what gives the judge the right to do that?
Nothing.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. The county supervisor said, "This is way beyond anything we've seen in the electoral process. As hard as we've worked to get the vote out, and then you're going to have stupidity to not have enough ballots." Well, this is frankly stupidity. You know how many registered voters there are.
Yeah. Yeah. If
You
you can
know,
count, if
duh.
you can count, it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, and you're not gonna, more people that are not registered to vote can't come and just get a ballot,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so Pennsylvania, apparently electronic voting machines flipped votes yesterday. Now you're gonna love, our audience is gonna love this story as well. In Northampton County, for deciding whether Pennsylvania Superior Court judges Jack Piniella and Victor Stabile should remain on the bench for additional 10-year terms. So all the poll workers were notified to tell voters before entering the voting booth about the problem with recording the vote. Talk about disenfranchising voters. But McClure, who is the Northampton County executive, Lamont McClure, he explained that all 300 plus of the county's voting machines are affected by the issue, which was caused by a coding error by voting machine company. Guess who it was?
Dominion.
No. ES&S, Election Systems and Software. He added that the county's election staff missed the issue during testing of the voting machines.
Really?
And McClure said that votes will be corrected during tabulation.
Ooh.
How the hell are you doing that? I want to know. And then the company spokesperson for ES&S, Katina Granger, told the wire service that the problem was caused by human error, and it was limited to Northampton County and only affected the judicial retention question. How can that be? A coding error.
Yeah.
Let me tell
I
you.
don't know.
ES&S, get rid of the system. And then in Texas, in Harris County, at one polling place, voters were unable to cast ballots for almost an hour and a half because of a malfunctioning ballot scanner. And once again, an election judge at the location estimated that about 20 people were left without, they left without voting. And it reportedly took 4 attempts at rebooting the system before it worked.
Huh.
Let's see. Harris County experienced issues in both the 2020 and the 2022 elections. And this year, the Texas legislature passed a bill to address election failures specifically related to Harris County and try to prevent them from occurring in other large counties in the state. And the bill eliminated the Elections Administrator Office created by the Harris County Commissioner's Court, which critiques argued contributed to the voting irregularity and mishaps. And the new law, which took effect in September, returned election oversight and administration to the county clerk and tax assessor collector offices, as it was prior to the Commissioner's Court creating a new office. So all is not well in elections. And here we have just 4 states, and this was an off-year election.
Yeah. Yeah, that's my primary concern with the 2024 presidential election is that whatever occurred in 2020 hasn't been fixed and probably won't be fixed by 2024. So.
Yeah, that's my fear as well. And then on top of all of that, you had leftists threaten election officials and push no voting. And, you know, Georgia, Oregon, and Washington election officials all received some form of threats over the past few weeks.
Really?
Letters postmarked from Portland read, "Stop giving power to the right that they don't have. We're in charge now, and there's no more need for them." And it included 3 arrow symbols of the leftist and anti-fascist Antifa.
We're in
At
charge
least one
now.
letter had powder, and I guess some others have been laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that story. Yeah.
You know, so this is all part of that story as well. And
you don't need to figure out where to get anthrax anymore. You just go down to 4th and Taylor in downtown Portland, buy some fentanyl and crush it up and put it in a letter. About as deadly.
Well, yes, very deadly. And so much so, they caused evacuations, of course. And then they issue them Narcan into the election office in case somebody gets hit with something.
Oh, man.
Golly. I'll tell you, it's just the craziness of all this stuff going on, you know? But we didn't used to have these issues. At least we just didn't used to have these election issues.
It doesn't seem like it. I don't recall, but I do have to admit that I spent the majority of my life probably being spoon-fed bad information. So,
well, I think I think we all could be say the same thing, really, because Trump, I think, woke a lot of people up to fake news. I realized there was a lot of fake news beforehand, but I had no idea just how much.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
Oh, gosh.
I watched some network news yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. First time in many, many months. I think the last time I saw network news was in Madras because I don't have network news. Oddly enough, it's Fox News Live, which is I think it's something they put out to cable operators that it isn't any of their name people. It's not their main programming. And it was fairly innocuous because, once you learn, you can spot bias just immediately. Anyways, it was kind of weird. I almost clicked down a channel and went to CNN to see how bad that was, but I didn't.
Well, talking about regular television, I didn't watch the debate.
I didn't.
But I saw a headline today that said the viewership was down 70% or something, on the third debate, which doesn't frankly surprise me. I've heard snippets about it, but the thing is, frankly, Trump will be, I believe, our nominee.
Yeah.
And, I had a thought as I was making dinner tonight, was that if Trump is not the nominee, then this will disenfranchise Republican voters nationwide, and it will hurt everybody running for office as a Republican.
Right.
And so, you better get on board, people. Better get on board, because down ballot counts. It does.
Yeah, it does. It does. Although increasingly, I'm beginning to realize there's a little difference between the parties as far as what actually occurs in the governing process. Unfortunately, I'm a little disappointed that of course, I've expressed that over the years quite a bit. And the what 3 or 4 times we've had Republican majorities in Congress, and nothing of any substance happens. And here I am, Republican cheerleader, vote Republican, spending all that time advocating for Republicans to be elected, and spending no small amount of money really in that same pursuit. And it's just like, yeah, it didn't make any difference. Size of government still grows.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, it does make a difference, and where it truly makes a difference is in our local stuff. I mean, we have to, I think, as a nation, concentrate on our local elections, because it makes a difference if you have conservative school boards and commissioners and judges and people, and running your community, city council, the very same way. And so I think it's important to help. I mean, I totally get what you're saying. It's like the uniparty. And that's what got me involved in wanting to be involved in the Republican Party, was because I feel that the Republican Party, I want it to turn right and not go the way of the Democrat Party and being a uniparty. And that's what I've seen for decades, as you have. And I see the change and the shift happening of people wanting to, like, say, America first, wanting to make changes for the betterment of our country, not the betterment of another nation. But, and unfortunately, there's always going to be those that are just wanting to take care of themselves, and not really are there to take care of the city, state, or the nation to help. It's about helping themselves. And I think we need more people that are interested to help our nation at any level, in order to turn things around, being selfless that way.
I'll agree to some extent. I mean, my experience in a conservative county, a 67, 68% Republican county, is that we have 3 county commissioners. All of them are Republicans. And those county commissioners, along with the local Republican Central Committee, all advocated for and helped pass, and you'll get this because you're a property owner, a 99 cents per thousand tax.
Wow. For what?
For the sheriff's department. So my macro view is that the real problem with America, and the only way that America can be first, and the only way that you can make America great again, is to reduce the size of government. And the only way to do that is to starve it to death. So I was a little disappointed that it looks like that passed. It didn't pass by much. It looks like it was 51 to 48, or 51 to 48. But I mean, that's a huge tax. If you have
Yes, it is.
If you have
Yes,
a senior citizen living on the average, which is $1,800 a month Social Security, and they have a house piece of property that's now worth $300,000, that's another $25 a month out of their pocket.
I think when you're going to pass taxes that are affecting property owners, I think only property owners should be able to vote on
Hey,
it.
effing men.
I'm
Amen.
serious. Why the hell should renters get to dictate what the property owners are paying?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that don't own property that think that they don't pay property tax.
Oh my
But
word, let me tell you, if you want all your costs to go up, just keep raising the damn
yeah,
taxes. It's affected everything, rent,
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
You bet. Oh man.
Yeah, so I'm a little disappointed
Wow.
about that. A little disappointed in my local Republican Central Committee that supported that tax. Disappointed in my 3 Republican county commissioners that supported that tax, advocated for that tax. Uh, and
Did you work against it to oppose it?
no,
Make signs and,
I did not.
and advocate against?
I did,
Oh,
I did
man.
not, and I'll tell you why. Because they've been trying to pass more taxes in this county since for 5 to 7 years or something. I've been down here off and on, and it has always failed by 75. The last one, I think it was last year, was over 80% said no. And I
Wow.
thought that this would be the same way. I thought, there's no way in hell that'll pass in Josephine County.
Oh, but for police, for
Yeah.
sheriff, security, people want security.
Yeah. People are willing to trade liberty for security,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Wow.
And the people that
Wow.
vote for it, they think about themselves. Well, it only cost me $300 a year, and or whatever it is. Or they said that the average, taxable property in Oregon or in Josephine County is 154,000. It's like, who the hell?
Where'd they pull that
Yeah,
figure
where'd they
out of?
pull that
That
figure
sounds a
out?
little bit
Yeah,
low.
you know, but still,
But I'll tell you and you said it in the very beginning. Who it really hurts are our senior citizens on fixed
Mhm.
incomes. That's who it really, I mean, it will hurt all the landowners, but it really hurts them very
Well, it hurts.
much,
Yeah, it
very
hurts.
much.
It hurts people that own a lot of land. If you got
Yeah.
$6 million worth of taxable property in this county, that's $6,000 a year. It's going to cost you. That's $500 a month. It's going to cost you. You know.
And if it's sitting in timber, I mean, I don't know if there's special taxes and things like that, but anyway, yeah, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll never go down. I'm sure. I was
Oh
just
no.
talking to Karen at the dinner table before the show. I was wondering how long it'll be before the sheriff comes back and says that 99 cents isn't enough. We need a buck 10 or whatever it is. Uh,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, along the line still of elections, remember when Texas had the deep freeze and all the wind turbines didn't, they had their power grid melted down and people were freezing there for weeks. Well, this time the Texas voters said yes to natural gas. So apparently, Texas Proposition 7, which passed, it created a fund for low interest loans for natural gas fired power plants and specifically excludes wind and solar farms. I love it. And this is the repercussion of you have to have reliable energy. And when we've talked about that a lot here, David, you and I, and all of us, quite frankly, on Captive Audience, about the need for having reliable energy and sustainable energy, but reliable. And I just think, yeah, this happened as a repercussion to that big meltdown. They've had 2 winters, but one really bad one. It's one thing. Yes, you can keep warm, but when the pipes start freezing in your house, and they did everywhere because there is no heat, you have no electricity, you don't have any heat. And so that it created, I remember hearing a figure I'm sure it was in the billions of dollars of damage all across
Oh yeah,
Texas in that big, deep
frozen
freeze.
pipes.
So,
Plumbers are making out like bandits, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. And the Maine voters said no to a grid seizure and foreign political ads. So it's interesting. In Maine, there was a proposal that would create the Pine Tree Power Company, an electric transmission and distribution utility governed by an elected board, and allowed the company to purchase and acquire all investor-owned transmission and distribution utilities in Maine. And the people said no.
Good.
No, they're saying, because they said, well, we would just use eminent domain, to acquire all the utility and the transmission, and nearly 70% of the Maine voters said no.
Wow.
The power belongs in the hands of the people, not greedy corporations. And I'll tell you, I think good for Maine in doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for Maine.
Well, back to Texas.
Good for Texas voting for a natural
Yeah, well,
gas-fired
yeah.
power
I mean,
plant.
natural gas is such a wonderful and inexpensive and safe and clean way to produce heat. I wish I had it.
Yeah, we have it here at our house. I like it, but and I don't hear often of problems that you're going to not have natural gas, although there was a pipeline that blew up in Idaho, just over the border, not too far from Oregon. And it's affecting, I know, the community of Lewiston, that right now they don't have any heat. And thankfully, it's not brittly cold, but there is, it's coming. But they do have electricity. So what the news was talking about, okay, we know there's, you need space heaters and stuff like that. So at least people have electricity. But the reason that was on the news this morning was because they said, you know what, we're going to get some high winds. And if we get super high winds, the power company might cut the power.
Yeah, yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so,
We got those warnings. Been getting those warnings for the last 2 years where I live during the summer.
Do you get them in the winter as
No,
well?
no, we haven't. As a matter of fact, I got a notification from the power company at the end of October that said that their fire season protocols or something are no longer in effect. So they've changed a bunch of equipment to make their short circuit protection faster acting. So I don't think I don't think we're gonna have any of those kind of issues in the wintertime. Although, every year down here, because we have so damn many trees and there are so many power lines above the ground within reach of a falling tree, that we lose power often. Last year, I think we were out for 4 or 5 days after a windstorm, 60-mile-an-hour winds. It looked like Armageddon. I took a drive into town and I was looking at all the down power poles, and I'm thinking, okay, that's on our circuit. That's on our circuit. I'm thinking, that's probably a day or two. That's probably a day or two. And then I took this little spur road where the power goes off and then comes back to the main highway. And I went down there, and it was just a massive mess. And I came back and I told Karen, I said, it's going to be a couple more days before we get electricity.
Yes, that's why it's good to have generators.
Yes.
That's why it's good to have a generator, a backup power supply.
I bought a new generator before that happened. Yes, I did. I bought a new one that'll run most of our house. It'll run pretty much everything. It'll run even our heating if we want. Although we have wood stoves, so in the winter we'll do that.
Yeah.
In the summer, though, we could run our AC.
You have a lot of wood. You have a lot of wood around you.
I have a lot of wood, yeah, and I really do need to chop some more. All summer long, I'm thinking, man, I really need to chop wood. And then I'll see my neighbor. He's like 75 or something. He's out there chopping wood a little bit all through the summer, and I'm thinking, God, he's a lot smarter than I am.
He's being like the squirrel,
Yeah.
he's squirreling it away,
Yeah.
right? A little at a time.
And so I chopped some last weekend. Hopefully I'll get some more chopped tomorrow, or split, I should say.
Hey, well, listen, I want to tell you about this other story that I think is really crazy. And that is in Oregon now. This is a Supreme Court decision, Oregon Supreme Court decision, that alternative to the bar exam has been approved in a landmark Oregon Supreme Court decision. So prospective lawyers no longer need to pass the bar exam to become licensed in Oregon, following a decision this past Tuesday by the state Supreme Court.
Really?
And when I read this, I went, well, I'll tell you, beware everybody hiring lawyers. Not that not passing the bar makes them smarter, but there is a bar to pass. They keep lowering the bars in so many areas. You don't have to know anything and you'll graduate high school. There is no bar
Well,
anymore,
we
right?
need more lawyers, Sonny. We don't have enough.
Oh, do we? Do we? You know what? So apparently the Oregon State Bar can now license law school graduates who submit a portfolio of their work practicing law for an independent evaluation as an alternative to the traditional exam. A change the leader, Willamette University's College of Law, has pushed for years. So this is where it's coming from, Willamette University College of Law. And the court unanimously approved the new supervised practice portfolio examination, which will allow graduates to complete 675 hours of legal work supervised by an experienced attorney. And that's the amount of time most people study for the bar exam, according to a press release from the university. Now, as I've read in this story, you will only
675 hours to study for an open book test?
Yes, and it's a multi-day test.
Wow.
Yes.
I could
600.
I guarantee you I could prep and pass that thing in 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know if I could. I'll tell you, I got my ham license in 2 weeks, and that included Morse code, so maybe I could. You stick but if that's your plan, you know what? It's amazing what you can get accomplished. But I've never wanted to study the law.
In Wyoming, you can intern with a lawyer without going to law school and become a lawyer. Just
okay, but most
stupid
states
thing I know.
But most states use a national bar exam.
Right.
And so if they are doing this, then they would only be able to practice law in the state of Oregon because they've not taken a national bar exam, which then they could go work anywhere else. So that would be the downfall in that, apparently. So that's a little news, buyer beware or hiring beware for future lawyers. I don't know.
Well, they're probably trying to get too many complaints about people who can't take tests. And I get that. There are people who are not very good at taking tests.
But you know what?
And then there's people like me who never did any of the work, just took the tests because I'm a good test taker.
Well, there you go.
Energized.
No, I needed to pass it. But they're saying that the bar exam is a grueling multi-day test that about 40% of the test takers fail. That's okay. You know what? Not everybody needs to get a trophy. And maybe they fail it the first time. It's not uncommon for lawyers to take the bar multiple times.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah. So what if 40% fail? They shouldn't be lawyers.
Well, here's another fun fact. In the state of Oregon, it's easier. There's a higher pass percentage pass rate for the bar exam and the medical boards than there is for the general supervising electrician test.
Wow.
The pass rate on the general electrical supervisor's test, they may have changed it because I think there was a lawsuit about it. But when I took it, it was 11%. And there were people in there when I took it that were taking it for the 5th and 6th time. That's how difficult it was.
Well, when I took my sat for my landscape contractors test in California, I was told when I was studying for that test that that is the hardest test next to blasting in the state. The hardest license to get was landscape contractor.
Wow.
Yeah, because there's so much more that you have to know. You know, I mean, grading and plumbing and electrical, and it's quite varied. That's what I was told.
Wow.
I passed on the first go round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't pass mine, and I called up the chief electrical inspector, and I said, "Hey, you and I need to talk." And so I went in there and talked to him. I said, "What do you mean I didn't pass this?" He goes, "Well, when you did a commercial electrical calculation, you counted a coffee maker and a restaurant as a continuous load." And I said, "Well, you ever worked in a restaurant? Because that sucker's on all day."
Oh, exactly. He had never worked in a restaurant or thought about that.
He said, "Well, that's a good point." And he gave, he had his assistant give me my license.
All right. You know what? It pays to go talk to him.
Well,
listen,
I think that's what the deal was, and that's what the lawsuit was about. Was that it was kind of a good old boys thing.
Ah, yeah. Yeah,
and then
right.
if you went in there and good old boyed it, then you got your license. But if you're just one of those guys that was taking it for the 6th time instead of saying, "Hey, what WTF," basically,
Right. No kidding. Maybe you did need a different profession.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to give a little bit of an update. I've talked about over here in Umatilla County an energy project that's called Nolan Hills, and it is going to be wind, solar, and battery storage. And it's encompassing, I don't know, 20,000 acres, a whole bunch.
Prime
right?
farmland.
Anyway, but that's not. But the deal is, it's cited by FSEC, Energy Facility Siting Council, and Umatilla County has an ordinance, which is actually a 2-mile setback for wind turbines from residences and highly erodible soils and rivers or streams or creeks that have endangered fish in it and whatnot. Well, the FSEC, Energy Facility Siting Council, stated in their findings that they do not have to consider the local ordinances. Well, that's wrong. And our county commissioners brought it up to them that said no, as the special advisory council, the commissioners are the special advisory council to local sited projects. They said, no, you need to take, the FSEC needs to take into consideration this ordinance that we have. So FSEC decided, no, we're not going to, and we don't have to apply the comments from the Special Advisory Council. This is not going to be applicable to the project. Well, there's a small group of us that asked our county commissioners to take this to the Supreme Court. They did file an appeal with FSEC. FSEC, said no, we're going to stand by our findings. So we are now, our commissioners, on a vote of 2-1, which really surprised me, that one commissioner would not vote in favor of upholding the county's ordinances.
Really?
So 2-1, they voted, let's take it to the Supreme Court. Well, on Tuesday, I got notice. I think, it was Tuesday. No, it was Wednesday. I got notice on Wednesday that the Eastern Oregon County Association actually filed on as a friend of the court. And I am really excited about that because there's several commissioners that many of us talk to. I belong to an organization called Blue Mountain Alliance, and we are the people that really pushed our county commissioners to take this to the Supreme Court, because we as a group had already been to the Supreme Court regarding the 2-mile setback, and it was already deemed that this is a viable upstand. They upheld the ordinance for a project that was cited by the county. And so now we're going to a state agency, and the issue isn't the 2-mile setback. The issue is the state agency is saying we don't have to look at whatever the county ordinances are. We can cite anything we want, wherever we want, and ignore the county. And that is not right. So I'm really glad. I know Morrow County signed on as a friend of the court. Blue Mountain Alliance has signed on as a friend of the court in with this. And then like I said, on Wednesday, I got word that the Eastern Oregon Counties Association signed on. We were hoping to get the whole state's counties, the Association of Oregon Counties, to come on, because this will set a precedent. And in fact, the commissioner, Dan Doran in Umatilla County, that had said, well, what if we lose? Well, if you do nothing, you lose as a county. And he's the one who voted against that, taking it to the Supreme Court. Very disappointing. And but it wasn't brought to the Association of Oregon Counties, apparently, because this will set a precedent. When we win, it's going to be a great win, and I'm very confident that we will. And I feel that our case is bolstered as well by the association, the Eastern Oregon Counties Association, jumping on this, realizing, and even counties that have wind. This isn't about the energy. This isn't about the particular project. It truly is about a state agency cannot just ignore county ordinances.
Yeah. Local control.
It is local control. And so I hope I'll give you let you know what the outcome is of that. But I'm really excited that we're pushing through and pushing back on the state agency.
Good for you.
Once again. Yeah.
Good for you.
Well, tomorrow is Veterans Day. Are you doing anything special, David?
I am not. No, we are far away from our respective cemeteries where our fathers lie in state, lie in, what is it?
Well, Veterans Day is for those that are still serving and have served. Memorial Day is for...
Oh, yeah. There's that. Forgot about that. Yeah, I'll get a lecture on that now, won't I?
No, I'm not going to give you a lecture. I don't know
somebody will. Somebody will.
So, well, tomorrow we're going to have a parade in Milton Freewater. For the longest time, Milton Freewater has been the city in Umatilla County that has the only Veterans Day parade. I understand now that maybe there's one other parade. But anyway, in Milton Freewater, if you want to come out and see the Veterans Day parade, I know it's a little far for you, David, but if there's somebody in the area, it starts at 11 o'clock and there's a chili feed at the Elks afterwards.
Fun.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's, yeah. So thank you to all the veterans who are serving and have served our nation. And we've got to continue fighting for all of our rights. They're sacrificing a lot.
Yes, they are.
They are.
Unfortunately, we are sacrificing what they're sacrificing for. By the way we vote.
Yes, it all adds up, I mean, it does, and the repercussions of it definitely.
Yeah, no kidding.
Are felt.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Thank you. Share the message. Have a good
Good night.
night.